When I first transferred to Northwestern High School, I didn't know anyone, so I was on my own. I didn't talk much. I sat in the back of most classes and ate lunch alone. The school was big, and most people already had their groups. I figured I'd get through the year like this. About 3 weeks in, 3 guys from my homeroom, Tyler, Ben, and Marcus, started talking to me. They weren't bad guys, just the loud type. Tyler was always joking. Ben was the kind who dared people to do stupid things, and Marcus mostly followed along. One afternoon after class, Ben leaned over and said, "Hey, new kid, you up for a midnight dare?" I thought he was kidding, but the others grinned like it was a serious thing. "It's a tradition," Marcus said, "for new students. We take you to the old science building I had seen the place before. It was a separate wing at the far end of campus, blocked off with boards and warning signs. Everyone said it had caught fire about 10 years ago. No one had been allowed inside since. I hesitated, but they kept pushing. "It's harmless," Tyler said. "We all did it our first year. You just go in, stay a few minutes, maybe take a photo." That's it. I didn't want to look scared in front of them, and I wanted to make friends, so I said yes. I was more than happy with that because realistically, I would probably just play games on my phone. I got their numbers. That night, we met behind the gym around midnight. The parking lot lights were dim, and the rest of the campus was silent. Tyler brought a flashlight, Ben had another, and Marcus carried a backpack full of snacks and a few cans of soda. I just had my phone. We walked across the field, cutting through the tall grass until we reached the side of the burned building. The air smelled faintly of smoke, even after all those years. Most of the windows were covered with plywood, but one of the side doors was half open because the lock was broken. Ben whispered, "This way." We slipped inside. The smell hit first, a mix of dust and something stale. Our footsteps echoed. The beam from the flashlights cut through the dark, showing blackened walls and broken desks. Old lab tables were pushed against one wall, and melted wires hung from the ceiling like vines. "Creepy," Marcus said. We walked down the main hallway. On both sides, there were classroom doors, most half-burned, all covered in soot. The floor was gritty under our shoes. At first, it was kind of funny. Tyler started making ghost noises. Ben said we should find the old chemistry room. "That's where the fire started," he said. But then Tyler's flashlight started flickering. The light sputtered and dimmed, flashing against the walls in uneven bursts. That's when we saw handprints. Dozens of them, faint and gray, smeared along the walls. Every one of them was upside down, fingers pointing toward the floor, palms pressed flat against the blackened paint. It looked like someone had crawled along the wall and left them there. We stood there for a few seconds, just staring. Ben laughed. Guess the ghost liked doing handstands. But none of us laughed with him. I pulled out my phone to take a picture. My hands were shaking a little, but I just wanted proof. Something to show later. The flash went off, and then Tyler asked, "Wait, who is this in the picture?" I looked at the picture closely. There were 4 of us in real life. Me, Tyler, Ben, and Marcus. But in the photo, there were 5 figures. One more person stood right behind us. Tall, thin, a black body, as if burned by fire. Face hidden behind long hair. For a few seconds, none of us said anything. Ben grabbed my phone and stared. "Who's that?" "I don't know," I said. Tyler turned his flashlight toward the hallway behind us. It only showed empty space. Then Marcus whispered, "Did you hear that?" At first I didn't. Then I did. Slow, uneven breathing coming from the far end of the hall. We all turned. A locked classroom door was rattling, shaking in short bursts like someone was trying to open it from the inside. Tyler took a step back. "That's not funny, man." The sound grew louder. The metal handle twisting, scraping, then slamming once. Then both our flashlights died at the same time. Everything went black. Someone screamed. I think it was Marcus. I turned and started running. I didn't know which direction. I just followed the faint rectangle of light that had to be the door we came through. My shoulder hit a wall, and something metal fell over behind me. I heard footsteps. Too many of them. Too close. "Go!" Tyler yelled somewhere in the dark. I ran harder, stumbling over debris, trying to keep my phone out to light the way. The dim glow from the screen barely helped. I saw shapes moving in the corner of my eye. I knew someone was there, but I didn't dare look back. When I reached the side door, I shoved it open and burst outside. Cold air hit my face. Ben ran out right after me, then Tyler. We stood there, catching our breath, staring back at the building. "Where's Marcus?" I asked. No one answered. Tyler started to go back toward the door, but Ben grabbed his arm. "No, leave it. He's probably hiding, trying to scare us." We waited. 10 minutes passed. But Marcus didn't come out. We stayed there another 15 minutes before finally heading home, saying we'd check on him the next morning. When I got to school, Marcus still wasn't there. By third period, people were whispering. Someone said police were on campus. Around noon, an announcement came on the speaker asking anyone who had seen Marcus the night before to come to the office. Marcus's parents had called the cops to make a missing report, and they were at the campus. I thought it would be better if I told them everything. I showed them our text messages and the picture we took that night with that creepy figure. Later that day, they found his backpack. It was in one of the burned classrooms inside the old building, but there was no sign of him. People kept asking what really happened that night, but I didn't say much. I told the police everything I could remember: the handprints, the noise, the extra figure in the photo. They took my phone. Ben stopped coming to class for a while. Tyler tried to act like nothing happened, but he avoided everyone. Once, in the cafeteria, he caught my eye and just nodded, like he knew we both remembered but didn't want to talk about it. Police couldn't find any traces of Marcus, and the case didn't have any logical evidence. Marcus's phone was found in his locker. So, as an excuse, police said maybe he ran away. That didn't make sense. No one believed their story. Ben transferred schools a few months later. Tyler still went to Northwestern, but he never mentioned that night again. Marcus's name stayed on the missing posters for almost a year. Then one day, they took them down. No one ever found him. It's been 2 years now. I still think about that night sometimes. How quiet the building was. Like it was waiting for us. And that photo, even though it's gone from my phone now, I can still picture it clearly. The four of us standing in the dark hallway, and behind us, that tall figure, almost touching my shoulder. I don't know what it was. All I know is, even after all this time, I still can't shake the feeling about Marcus. And whatever was in there with us is still out there. It happened back in 2018, during my senior year of high school. I was on the basketball team, and that night, practice had run late. Everyone else had already gone home, but I had forgotten my gym bag in the storage room behind the court. Coach had already locked up and left, but the side door near the bleachers was still open, so I slipped in to grab it. The lights above the court buzzed faintly. The storage room was tucked behind a short hallway near the locker rooms. It was small and cramped, filled with old gear, deflated basketballs, broken nets, and boxes of faded jerseys. I flipped the light switch, but only half the bulbs worked. A weak yellow glow filled the space. My bag was sitting on the floor near the corner. I bent down to grab it, brushing some dust off the strap, when I heard a faint shuffle behind me. It was quiet, just one quick sound, like someone stepping lightly on the floor. I turned my head and looked around. "Hello?" I called. No answer. I figured it was the janitor. He usually came by around this time to lock up, so I tried again. "Hey, it's just me, Jeremy. I'm grabbing my stuff." Still nothing. I stood there for a moment, listening. Then, out of nowhere, a locker door slammed shut from the back of the room. The sound was sharp, metal hitting metal, echoing off the concrete walls. I jumped. My heart started pounding in my chest. Every locker in this room had been empty for years. No one ever used them anymore, not since the new equipment shed was built outside. I slowly turned toward the back of the room. The lights flickered again. "Hello?" I said, louder this time. No one replied. I could hear a faint sound, like breathing. It was too close. I took one slow step back, ready to leave. My hand reached for my phone in my pocket. Maybe I could use the flashlight. Then I felt it. A cold hand brushed against my shoulder. I spun around instantly, my back hitting the metal shelf behind me. The room looked empty. Nothing had moved. but my body went cold. I knew what I felt. I started backing toward the door, my eyes darting around the cluttered corners. The shelves, the boxes, the old basketball racks. Everything suddenly looked like it could be hiding someone. That's when I heard it, a low, short laugh. It came from somewhere behind the old lockers stacked near the wall. I froze. My throat felt tight. The sound stopped. I slowly lifted my phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the dim yellow light. Dust floated in the air like smoke. When I aimed the light toward the lockers, I saw something. At first, I thought I was seeing things. But then it moved. A pale face, just barely visible, peeked over the top of one of the lockers. The eyes were wide, almost too wide. They didn't blink. They just stared straight at me. My legs went weak. For a second, I couldn't even move. Then, instinct kicked in. I turned and ran. The door handle was cold and stuck for a moment. I yanked it, hard, until it finally gave way and swung open. I bolted out into the hall, breathing fast, the echo of my sneakers bouncing off the empty floor. Behind me, I heard footsteps, fast, matching my pace. I didn't look back right away. I didn't want to see what was there, but I had to. I turned once, quick, and there was nothing. The hallway was empty. Just me and the sound of my own steps. I ran straight through the side exit and out into the night air. The parking lot was empty too, the streetlights buzzing overhead. I kept running until I reached the main road. Only when I stopped did I realize how fast my heart was beating. My hands were shaking badly. I walked straight home. That night, I didn't sleep much. I kept seeing that face every time I closed my eyes. The next day, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't think anyone would believe me. It sounded too unreal. A few weeks later, I overheard the rumors about the school used to keep that room locked for a reason. Years ago, before I ever came to this school, a kid had been found unconscious back there after sneaking in at night. He'd hit his head on the concrete floor, and no one found him until morning. They said he didn't make it. Teacher moved all the equipment out years ago and stopped using that space. But then the basketball team started using it again to store gear and, well, weird things started happening again. Many students say that the lights in that room often cut out. Locked doors seen open. Sometimes they find old basketballs moved out of place, lined up neatly along the wall. After that, janitor again locked the room for good. Teachers maybe hide something from us. But I will never forget the horrifying experience. It happened back in 2019, during my junior year of high school. There were 4 of us. Me, my friends Kyle, Ethan, and Mark. We were staying late one night to finish our art project. The school was mostly empty by then. The halls were dark except for a few lights left on near the art wing. It was around 8 p.m., and the only sound came from the faint buzz of the lights above us. Our project was a photography piece, and the final part needed a few pictures taken from the rooftop. Normally, the roof was locked, but the janitor, Mr. Benson, had agreed to leave the door open for us just that one night. He trusted us since we'd been working on the project for weeks. So after we cleaned up the art room, we made our way to the back stairwell that led up to the roof. The metal door creaked loudly when I pushed it open. A cold breeze hit us as soon as we stepped outside. The air was chilly, and the night was quiet, except for the sound of traffic from the main road below. The city lights flickered in the distance. The rooftop itself was flat, with short metal railings along the edge and a few old vents scattered around. I set my camera bag down and started unpacking the tripod. "Let's get this over with," Ethan said. "It's freezing up here." "Yeah, just a few shots," I told him. "Then we're done." I positioned the camera near the center of the roof, facing the edge where you could see the skyline. Kyle held up a flashlight so I could focus. Mark was pacing a few feet away, looking out over the railing. Everything was fine for a while, quiet, normal. Then, out of nowhere, the heavy metal door behind us slammed shut. The sound echoed across the whole rooftop. All 4 of us jumped. "What was that?" Kyle muttered, turning around. The door had closed so hard it made the hinges shake. I hurried over and tried to pull it open, but it didn't move. It was like it had locked itself. Ethan came over and helped me pull. It didn't budge. Then we heard footsteps, coming from the far end of the roof. We all froze. The sound was faint at first, but clear enough to know it wasn't the wind or anything mechanical. Someone was walking. I turned my head toward the noise. The far end of the roof was dim, but the security light from below lit up part of it. No one was there. The footsteps come closer. Kyle whispered, "Who's there?" No answer. Just the wind, and that slow, steady sound of footsteps scraping across the gravel. They were getting faster, moving from one side of the roof to the other like someone was circling us. I aimed my flashlight toward the far corner. For a second, I thought I saw something move, a quick shadow flickering near the edge. I blinked, thinking it was just my eyes playing tricks on me. Then I saw it. A tall figure, thin, standing near the ledge. It wasn't moving, just standing there. Its head turned slightly toward us, the light revealing a pale face and two dark red eyes locked on us. It was wearing something faded, a uniform, I think, an old one, the kind with the school's initials printed across the chest. I recognized it. It was the old gym uniform design, the kind they stopped using years ago. Ethan whispered, "Peter, who is that?" I didn't answer. My throat felt tight. The figure took one step forward, and that's when we all bolted for the door. We hit it hard, throwing our shoulders against it over and over. It rattled and groaned, but didn't open. Behind us, something moved. Heavy footsteps drawing nearer. Kyle shouted, "Come on, open," as we all pushed against the door at once. Finally, the lock broke and the door swung open. We just ran down the stairwell, our footsteps echoing like thunder. We didn't stop until we reached the main hallway of the school, where the lights were still on. We stood there, out of breath, trying to process what had just happened. Kyle said, "That door shouldn't have locked like that." And who the hell was that guy? None of us knew. We had no idea what was happening. After a few minutes, we gathered our stuff and left. When I got home that night, I couldn't stop replaying it in my head. The next day, I went back early, before class started. I found Mr. Benson mopping near the front entrance. He looked surprised to see me. "Peter, you left some of your art stuff upstairs." I shook my head. "No, I just wanted to ask something." He leaned on his mop. "What's that?" "Was anyone else in the building last night?" "Around 8? He frowned. "No, just you boys." Why, I told him everything. He just went quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You kids shouldn't have gone up there after dark." "But you said we could," I reminded him. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I did. But I didn't know you'd be there that late. It's better to stay away from it after hours." I didn't ask what he meant. I just thanked him and walked to class. But his tone stuck with me. Later that day, I mentioned the story to one of my teachers, Miss Lawson. She'd worked at the school for over 20 years. When I told her about the figure in the old gym uniform, she looked uneasy. "You know, those uniforms were phased out in 2006. There was a student. Something happened back then. He fell from the roof during gym class. No one was supposed to be up there, but he'd gone to retrieve a ball." I didn't know what to say. She added quietly, "They kept the door locked ever since." That night, I told the others. No one said much. Kyle tried to laugh it off, saying someone playing a prank. After that, we never went near the roof again, but I'll never forget that night. It happened on a rainy evening back in 2021. That was the night my friend Jay and I made the dumb decision to sneak into our high school. We were both in the school band, and we had left our instruments behind after practice. There was a performance the next morning, and neither of us wanted to show up empty-handed. The front doors were locked, of course, but Jay remembered that one of the basement windows under the music hall could still be opened. It wasn't a big window. In fact, we had to crawl through it one at a time. The rain soaked our jackets, and the metal frame felt cold against my hands as I climbed inside first. The basement was exactly how I remembered it. Cramped, low-ceilinged, and filled with old junk. Broken chairs, dented music stands, cracked drum shells, and dusty instrument cases piled up everywhere. Jay dropped in right behind me, landing with a soft thud. He shone his phone light around. The narrow beam cut through the dust, making the shadows stretch and bend across the walls. "Grab your trumpet and let's get out," Jay whispered. Yeah, I said, though I wasn't sure where I had left it. Somewhere near the storage closet, I thought. We started walking deeper into the basement. The only sound was the rain above and the soft creak of our shoes against the floor. Then I noticed something strange. A faint glow coming from under a door at the far end. It was dim, yellowish, like a small lamp left on. Someone down here, I whispered. Jay shook his head. No way. School's closed. Must be a nightlight or something. Still, I felt uneasy, but curiosity won out. I motioned for Jay to follow, and we slowly made our way toward it. The glow faded as we got closer. When I reached the door, I turned the handle and pushed it open. The light wasn't from a lamp after all. It was just the flicker of a dying red exit sign in the hallway beyond. The hallway itself was narrow and dark, with peeling paint and exposed pipes running along the ceiling. Jay stepped in first, his flashlight pointing ahead. I followed right behind him. For a few seconds, it was quiet. Then we heard it. Something heavy scraped across the floor behind us. We froze. It was slow at first, like metal dragging over concrete. Then it got faster, sharper, echoing through the hall like someone running while dragging something heavy. Jay turned off his light instantly, whispering, "What was that?" I spotted a small door to our left, maybe a storage room, and pushed it open. We ducked inside and shut it behind us. The room was pitch black. I turned my phone flashlight back on. The beam swept over boxes, old shelves. Something was crouched in the corner. At first, I thought it was just another pile of junk. But then it moved. Its body was tall, too tall to fit properly in the corner. Its skin was pale, almost gray, stretched thin over long arms and sharp shoulders. It didn't move toward us. It just crouched there, completely still. Its eyes caught the light from my phone. Two pale reflections staring straight back at us. "Jay," I whispered. But before he could respond, in an instant, the figure streaked past and disappeared. Jay grabbed my arm. "We're leaving." Now we threw the door open and ran back into the hallway, but something was wrong. The corridor didn't look the same anymore. The exit sign was gone. Every door looked identical. We had only gone a few steps when the scraping sound returned. It echoed from behind us, harsh, uneven, and closing in fast. "Go!" I shouted. We sprinted through the hallway, turning left, then right, trying to find the way back to the basement window. But the hall kept twisting. Every turn led us somewhere new, like the building was changing as we ran. The sound grew louder, almost beside us now. Then Jay stopped. "Wait," he whispered. A pale hand reaching out of the darkness, wrapping around his shoulder. It wasn't human. "Move," I yelled, shoving him forward. We ran again, not knowing where we were going. I pushed through a heavy metal door at the end of the hall. It gave way with a screech, and we stumbled into a stairwell. We just climbed, 2 steps at a time, hearts pounding. At the top, there was another door. I hit it with my shoulder, and it burst open. Cold air rushed over us. Rain poured down hard, soaking us instantly. We were outside. We sprinted across the empty parking lot, barely stopping to breathe. Only when we reached the edge of the field did we finally look back. The basement window, the one we had crawled through, was glowing faintly from the inside. And in that glow, behind the glass, a dark silhouette stood perfectly still. It didn't move. It just watched. Neither of us spoke on the walk home. The rain drowned out everything. The next day, Jay wouldn't talk about it. He said he didn't remember what he saw, just that he felt something cold grab him. I didn't push him to remember. We both quit band not long after that, and we never tried sneaking into the school again.